the Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings 2022 RBC Heritage DraftKings picks and preview. You want to play in the best contest on DraftKings? There's around 800 spots remaining in the Pat Mayo Experience Listeners League. Get the link down in the description of the video or the audio podcast. Sub to the channel, smash the like to the video, and rate and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts. That would be the Pat Mayo Experience. Reminder to anyone out there who's looking to get some daily action down on baseball. Fantasy baseball picks and bets is now back every day, weekday that is, on Mayo Media Network. So go check that out. Big John Legeza has it all for you. Bets, DFS plays, player props, and it's like 20 minutes long. He talks at him. You think I talk fast? You should listen to Big John. He is flying through this stuff. So go check that out on Mayo Media Network right now, okay? Ben Rasa from Awesemo.com is on the line to break this all down. Ben, what's it like when you lose all your money at the Masters? Because I have my take on it, but I want to hear yours.
Yeah, I can speak to that. Well, you know, it was a small glimmer of hope. Cameron Smith doubled the first hole, and I was feeling good. And that was the culmination. Because for me, the crazy thing was I was actually really happy with my 6-6 percentage. Ty Hatton and Max Homa combos was low-key dangerously terrible. They might as well have gotten cut. And then, of course, as I said in your lovely preview to the Pat Mayo show last week, if Scotty Scheffler was at the top of the leaderboard, you wouldn't be seeing me there. And that is what happened. He is on quite a run.
Tambo and I talked about it on the live show, and I'll go through it again with Tambo. We have the Heritage live chat, noon Eastern on Mayo Media Network, live if you want to get your questions in on Wednesday. But we started looking at the ownership percentages. Like, should we just play Scheffler? Like, I don't know if he ended up doing it or not. I was like, nah, I'm just going to go with Rahm. And like that turned out to be quite the devastating error on my part.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when you're talking about majors, the reality of the situation is you can't play every elite player. It's impossible. You have to make a stand somewhere. And when you do that, inevitably, sometimes one of the world's best that you don't play wins. And it's hard for me to regret that. My bigger misstep was certainly with Cam Smith, who is just unstoppable right now. He scored. Rory storming helped me a little in the betting markets, but, I wish he wasn't like 10 shots behind. He could have really gave it a go. But there were just some ugly showings. And then Spieth missing the cut when he had no business missing the cut was another detriment to my lineups.
Yeah, that really sunk me. My 6-6 percentage took a massive hit when Spieth gagged it away. And I still had, I had lineups that cashed that had Spieth in them. And I was like, oh, man. And they didn't have Scheffler in it. It was just a lot of Morikawa, Zalatoris. I had a ton of Cam Champ. Like, I feel like I wasted some really good, like, low-owned guys who scored a bunch of points because I couldn't figure out the top of the board. Like, it sucks when that happens. And so far this year, once or twice it's lined up, and I've done really well with my DraftKings lineup. I think it was at, like, API and somewhere else. And that's covered me for the year. But every other week, it's just like, oh, I got the top of the board absolutely correct, and nothing at the bottom. All those guys missed the cut. Or it's been like the exact inverse. Like, I think it was at Valero, where every loser that I played well, and every good guy I played was absolutely awful. So hopefully we can get it together at, obviously, my favorite tournament, my most successful tournament on DraftKings, the RBC Heritage. I don't know if Satoshi's going to win this year, but maybe we can find someone at $6,400 who can come through for us. But I told you when we were texting back and forth that I think I just might play like the biggest losers on the planet this week, like the RBC Heritage All-Star, like classic All-Star team. Like when you go in Madden and you go back through time, it's like, oh yeah, I want to play, I don't know, it was like the 91 Bills. The guys are here this week, although this field is like, it's a superstar field for this event. Granted, the COVID year where like everyone was here, but other than that, like this is incredible. Like Justin Thomas is at the top. He's $11,100, and you have Cam Smith after that coming in, just riding absolute hot fire at the moment. DJ, who plays it every year and has never finished inside the top 10, so take that for what it's worth. Morikawa is 10-2 in the final group last year. Cantlay was on a run at this tournament, 3 consecutive top 10 finishes, then he skipped a year, then he missed a cut, and that's everyone above $10,000. Can you justify skipping out on this range. The year that I won big, that was my strategy here. And the whole thesis behind it was like, hey, these top guys, they were either in contention or they had a lot going into the Masters to try to peak. Maybe fade those guys because they're the elite players. They're only really playing for majors. Not to say that they're going to play poorly at this event. You can never really know that. But if you just skip out on that range, you can build some spicy lineups.
You certainly can. I don't mind that strategy, and I probably will employ it. I'm a little more concerned with it this year specifically because the 5 guys that we mentioned, like there was going to be 5 guys probably north of 10 regardless of field strength. It would have just been guys that aren't really usually there. These are elite players, so I'm a little more worried. I do think there's more win equity up top in this version of Harbor Town and whatnot than normal. But if you survive, you mentioned you can build some dangerously insane teams that are full balance. So I'm drawn to Cantlay a little bit. He's flat 10, and I'm not going to push back if you go with one of these other guys. But I think you can get away more than last week with just omitting the entire 10K range.
Obviously, everyone knows where my loyalties lie at the top of this board. It's with my guy, Colin Morikawa, who this really should be a perfect spot for. It's whether or not he can putt or not. And he's coming off a great week at Augusta where he gained across the board in terms of strokes gained. That's great for his Masters future that he figured out the greens at least just a little bit. But knowing that Harbor Town is the irons and putting course, that leaves Morikawa, Cam Smith, Justin Thomas as I think like the 3 that stand out in that category. Obviously, DJ does it a bit of a different way, and who knows with Cantlay as he just kind of continues to play poorly over the past 2 months. But his track record here has been great outside of 1 year. I don't really, I want to go with Morikawa, obviously, because I do that every single week, and I think that a lot of people are going to come along for that ride. Is there anyone you can see up here just being like bypassed for unknown reasons, and why is it DJ?
Yeah, so I think it is DJ, but it's somewhat scary because I think the narrative gets somewhat twisted when we talk about Harbor Town. It's driving distance is not an advantage, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's true, but it's never a detriment either. It may not allow him to, separate from the field as much, but he's got a lot of experience here. He hasn't dominated by any stretch here. But again, these starts aren't terrible. 16th, 28th, 17th, 13th, still crushed off the tee. It's been the around the green game that's held him back. So I want to see where ownership comes in on a guy like DJ. I don't think by any sense he's a priority, but I'm not going to take a rigid approach where I won't play him under any circumstance.
I think I just play so few lineups that I don't think that I'm going to get there. And I can see the ownership being relatively flat amongst all these guys. Do you think there's one that everyone's going to gravitate towards? Because I guess Morikawa would make the most sense solely because he's the cheapest.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that the game is perfect for this place. I have no problem with that. I don't know. I'm not going to say I don't know why, but to me, Cantlay, I just have him slightly above Morikawa. I wouldn't mind double dipping and taking both. Cantlay's done it here before, 3rd, 7th, 3rd. Then he missed a cut. I don't really care about that. He gains across the board. He was quietly, just chugging along at the Masters. Didn't do anything special, but he also didn't have to grind it all on the weekend, just casual golf. I think he's primed to kind of kick it back into gear. He had a hot start for 2022, and then he's hit a lull recently.
So any interest in like Justin Thomas, Cam Smith lineups? Because Thomas is a weird one here. Because if he putts at all, it feels like he wins by 8.
So I don't think you could play them. Well, I mean, you could play them together. I think that's probably a little too rich, but I would play JT before I play Cam Smith. I know I have no credibility in the Cam Smith space anymore. That's clear, but I agree that when Justin Thomas gets going and when his wedges, he can just absolutely destroy a course. The putter comes and goes. It's been close. You see he's littering the top 10 board, another one at the Masters. So if I had to start with really paying up, I'd find the $300 and just take JT.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm looking at the projected ownerships right now. Again, Tuesday morning. It's really tough to figure out where these are going to drop, but it does appear like Cantlay is actually the one that relatively few people are going towards in the 10K range. Like he's projected around 10% right now with everyone else from like 15 to 20. So you do get a bit of a break in ownership plus the break in salary if that's the way you want to go. Maybe I should circle around. Would it help you to know that he's under-cursed this week?
That wouldn't help. Who did your boy curse last week?
DJ, Adam Scott, and Leishman were the 3 big ones, and Mac Hughes.
Yeah, they seem. Okay. Yeah, Leishman. I played Showdown with Leishman and it did not go well. I figured Xander might have been in the mix because I don't know what was going on there.
Yeah, well, when you only make one birdie on your, what was it,
Yes.
35th hole of the tournament, a very difficult hole, too, which is really strange. Just, bad scene for him. I thought he would show up here. He was a part of the Pat Mayo Big Cash lineup in 2017 when Kondaira won. He was on that squad. He was a part of that, like, $9,000 mix, along with Cantlay at the time as well. And Bryson, I think, was the other one near the top of that. So in the 9Ks, it's like all of the hot things, and then two guys who have let people down recently. Shane Lowry is the top price player at 9,800. Connors, Berger, Fitz, Sungjae at 93. Spieth, Neiman, and Henley all round this out. It's strange how Henley gets to be $9,000 on DraftKings, but he's like 5-1 to win the tournament at DraftKings Sportsbook. Not as crazy as that. What is he? He is 22-1. It's just weird to see him and his price on, like, in the DFS game be so much different than his outright odds at the same site.
The nines are real different and kind of tough for me. This is why the balance build could be very effective because you can make a case for all these guys. You mentioned Lowry and Connors, coming off really good weeks. Fitzy, he never wins, but he's a top 15 machine right now, 5 of 6. Harbor Town's a great course for him. You've got Berger. He's won twice at St. Jude. I see some comps to Southwind. Even the guy I don't know what to do with is Spieth. 92. I could
play him.
Play him?
Yeah. I'm seeing
with him.
I'm seeing 4% ownership right now on Spieth. And you know how this turns out. He shoots +8 on Thursday.
That's true, but so the thing that's interesting about Spieth to me, it's an awkward price. Like, are you comfortable starting with him or are you looking to pair like Morikawa with Spieth?
I'd probably go Berger Spieth, to tell you the truth, because I like Berger. I bet Berger to win this event. These are the types of courses he plays well. I think if you really wanted to have a unique build to start off with, but still feel good about it, Berger, Sungjae, Spieth would be your start.
Yeah, and again, that's where if you survive, you're going to have a lot of win equity in the next batch. There's no doubt about it.
But the whole thing is, like, at this course, I know that we don't usually see these superstar players above $10,000, but we do get DJ every year. Day used to play this back in his prime when he was great. So we do get these names that come. But I do think at this course in particular, the talent is sort of equalized by the way this course sets up, that maybe there's a bit, I don't want to say more win equity in the 9s than usual, but I think there's a bit less in the 10s just because there's so much win equity that's added to the bottom of this field because we've seen 200-1 guys, 100-1 guys win here. It's just one of those courses.
I completely agree. It's not to say that one of the elites can't play their A game and just blow the field away, but you can make a case for these guys in the 9s. Neiman to me is the most interesting. He's only played here once. He was absolutely spectacular. Just went crazy with the irons. He has that out. But on the surface, I don't think that this is an ideal course for him. He's just so good at this point. I think he kind of can play anywhere. I'm not really drawn to him, though, at 91. That's going to be a tricky one.
Would you go, like, Lowry and Fitz are going to be the guys everyone gravitates towards. Corey Connors as well, coming off the really good week. Would you be okay fading all those three guys, just knowing that you only have so many players to play that maybe taking the Berger, Sungjae, Spieth, Neiman route might be a little bit easier, or just start with those three guys, maybe have someone in the player pool that is up around over $10,000, whether it be Cantlay or Morikawa or Thomas, however you want to play it, make that your core pool, because I can make a very reasonable case for every single one of these $8,000 players.
So I like these guys on the surface, so I'm not looking for super aggressive stands, but I may not get over on guys like Lowry. I like Fitzy. I think he's very reliable, but you mentioned the number of pivots, and we've only talked about the 9s. The 8K range is loaded too, and this is why the balance build, getting 3 or 4 of these guys on teams is only doable if you punt north of 10.
So in the $8,000 range, I do think that there are guys with win equity in this range that mirror the guys even in the low 10,000s and all of the 9,000s. You got Webb here, who's not playing well, but this is a Webb Simpson course. I've seen him as low as 50-1 at a certain site that I choose to wager on a lot. Is that an auto bet? Should I just blindly bet that number?
Probably. I mean, that's pretty good. Noren is 50-1, and to me, Webb, who shows up at this event all the time, I don't particularly want to play him, but it's undeniable that this is a perfect course for him to get right, even though he's clearly not at the height of his powers.
So you have Webb, you have Horschel, another guy who's like hanging out around 45, 50 to 1. He's at 87 on paper, should be great. Varner is priced up, but he was second here a year ago, so that makes sense. Hatton coming off trying to, theoretically shoot everyone at Augusta National after making an 8 on number 13. But again, this is a course where he has played well in the past. He was good that year that Neiman was good. That was the year that Webb won coming out of the COVID restart amongst all of the best players in the world. And that's what I think back to when I try to assess the field this year and all the superstar players, that even though I think it was 9 of the top 10 in the world at the time showed up to play Harbour Town that year, when you look back at the leaderboard, it was Answer, it was Webb, Sergio, Hatton, Berger, Neiman. Those were the guys at the top. It wasn't, the very top guys.
Again, I think that just speaks to what we're talking about with this course and approaching it a little different. I'm okay with these guys. I'm definitely not going to start with them. That's too much. But second man in, sure. And I mean, Hatton was an incredibly frustrating roster spot, but he just doesn't like Augusta. It's pretty clear. I expect better from him here. And then going down, I bet some of these guys. I bet Fleetwood to win the event. I think that he's playing really well. Probably going to get suckered in, but I like Fleetwood quite a bit here.
Yeah, the first thing I did in the morning on Monday when the odds were released, I found a 66 on Kevin Kisner. I was like, I'm in. Like, this is a Kevin Kisner course. Kevin Kisner continues to play good golf at the places where Kevin Kisner plays good golf. Yep. Great showing at the Sony, great showing at the Players, great showing at the Match Play. Even did pretty well at Augusta, a place where the worse the conditions got, the better it turned out for him. But the stats don't really tell the full story with Kevin Kisner, I don't think, because he's been doing it all on chipping and putting. Those are usually the guys that we like to avoid. But just like Sedgefield, this is one of the courses where you just play Kevin Kisner, and hopefully it turns out really well for you.
There's no doubt that he has there are Kisner tracks, and this is one of them. Price is right. Win equity is there. I think the floor is probably worse than some of these other guys, but right now he is playing really good golf, so I'll look to do it. Are you going to play Noren?
I'm thinking about it. I'm just looking at the projected ownerships, and it's pretty spread out. There's not, like, outside of Webb, and this is from fantasynational.com/Mayo for 20% off to track this in real time to go look at it. But it seems like so much ownership is being sucked up in the 9s between Fitzpatrick, Neiman, Henley, and now Webb at the very top, is that Noren is sticking out, at least per Fantasy National, as a guy that's going to be played a lot. And then outside of that, everyone's like in the high single digits, low double digits. Like after that, Siwoo, and it's like 11%. And you know that I'm playing Siwoo at this course.
Gotta play Siwoo. Yeah, and that makes it easier. You're kind of just choosing best available. I could make a case for a lot of these guys. I do like Noren. I do like Fleetwood, though. And then I'll probably just mix and match. I don't think I'll have room for Billy Ho. He's probably one of the odd men out for me. But you can't play.
I think Horschel's a really good play here. I don't think that many people are going to go to him because of the price, but like, what has he done through the Florida swing so far? I realize this isn't in Florida, but I would call this a Florida adjacent course in terms of the way that it plays, the grass type. Obviously, it's Carolina, Bermuda, but this has a lot of similarities to Florida courses, minus all of the water. And Billy's just been tearing it up, and still no one wants to play him. These are the courses, like, look at where he's done all of his best work in his career. It's been at this type of course, whether it be Sedgefield, whether it be Eastlake. Like, this is on par with those courses. Why not here?
Because I don't want to play Billy Ho.
Fair.
Yeah, it's tough for me. He's got a long sample size here, and it's a mixed bag. There's no glaring issue, but he also doesn't really do anything to the best of his abilities. The greens have been hit or miss. His around the green game is relatively weak. Off the tee has been a mixed bag, and he's never really exploded with the irons. We've got a healthy sample size, but it's kind of like that at API and some of these other places. So I get it. I don't really care what he did at the Masters. I'm not worried about that. He was just riding such a hot putter for the Florida swing. If he keeps that up, he'll be fine, but that's a lot of strain. His ball striking, to me, hasn't been nearly as good as it seems, even though, at times the irons have been good, but it's just the price, I guess. 87 when I can get Hatton, Noren, Fleetwood, Kisner for discounts, I think is where I'd go.
So I just ran a query on Fantasy National between 5 courses: Colonial, Harbour Town, Sea Island Resort for the RSM Classic, the one that actually has strokes gain data, Sedgefield for the Wyndham, and Waialae for the Sony Open. Would you concede that those are probably the courses that match up best with this?
Sure. Yeah, I get that.
So I've sorted from the 2019 season on just to look at who the best players in the field are. And we got Henley, Berger, Webb Simpson, Na, Connors, Kisner, Morikawa, Horschel, Hatton, Neiman. Those are your top 10. You just play all those guys and like have that be your core.
And that leads you to balanced builds. Almost everyone you mentioned is in the 9 and 8K ranges. Where's CT Pan? I thought he was going to be on the list.
Yeah, well, he's either so good or just so bad that it's kind of weird with him. Like, he's obviously won at this event. He's coming second at the Wyndham. Maybe he doesn't play all that well at the other tournaments. I don't know what the deal is with him, but what price is CT Pan?
He might not be in the field, and then we'll just have to pretend that I didn't say that.
Why?
No, he's here.
You're gonna say, why wouldn't he be playing? What's his price?
Yeah, I don't know what goes on. He's 7,000.
7,000 on the dot?
Sixth at RSM. This guy's got it going on.
So maybe it's a CT Panway. He's 59 in strokes gained total amongst those courses over the past 24 rounds, but 30th tee to green. So it's just the weeks that he putts well at one of these events, he does really well. And the weeks that he putts poorly, he still misses the cut because he's just not that good tee to green.
Yep. No, that makes sense.
But anyway, that's where I was looking at for this. And like obviously all the good players, and some of them have very small samples. Like Cantlay only has 6 rounds of data over that time. Dustin Johnson only has 14 because they generally choose not to play these courses, which could lead you to the bias of there's a reason that the types of players that I talked about continuously do well because they're generally the best players in these fields, right?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt about that. It's just going to be, this is where fine edges come into play because you mentioned it's relatively flat range with the 8s. Ownership, lineup construction, tee times, little things will determine exactly how much of I get of these guys, but it's a range I'm very interested in.
So you're going Fleetwood, you're going Noren. Any Varner?
Yes.
Any Kirk?
I like Varner. I think he is slightly overpriced, but I'm hoping that will mask what could be maybe mitigated ownership. And this is a great course for him. It's not just here, but he kind of has that theme. And OHL, I've looked at quite a bit as a comp for this. So I think he's fine. Kirk, I'm somewhat indifferent. If I landed there, I'd be fine. I just don't know how many shares I'll have left.
So right now, I think that I'm wishy-washy on Hatton. I'll probably end up there. So Horschel and Hatton, Siwoo, and Kisner are probably the 4 that I will primarily try to build around in the 8s to have as the second or third or even 4th man in, depending on the lineup construction that I have, which leaves everyone else to the wayside. And now we end up going into the $7,000 range, where the top of this is pretty loaded with Kokrak, McNeely, Na, Kuchar, Harman, Mito, Hadwin, Hoagie. I think all of those guys, I mean, I don't really know what to make of Mito amongst that mix, but again, they're just kind of classic guys for a course like this. Kokrak has the win at Colonial. He's played well at this course. Na has won at Sony and Colonial, has stormed at Sedgefield, never finished outside the top 10, has had 3 top 11s, I think, in his past 7 starts at this course. He's a real mixed bag here, though, because it's either a really good finish or he misses the cut. So you got to be wary with Na. I did bet him, and I know that Kuchar is going to come in with a lot of popularity after not destroying people and actually coming through for them at Valero when he was a popular sleeper. I would much rather have Brian Harman than Matt Kuchar, though.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Kuchar, it's not that he doesn't fit. He does. It's just the reason form and whatnot. I think people will go there. Kevin Na has always got better win equity than his peers. The guy I struggle with the most is Maverick. He's making cuts. He's fine in the weekend. His around the green game is pretty weak. I, of course, like most, prefer him out west in California, but he's a talented guy, 7,900. I don't think the masses will be there. I'm kind of looking at Maverick as a potential guy in this range.
I can see it. I think it depends on, like, he is not my favorite of these guys. Na would be my favorite. Then I think it would be Kokrak, then McNeely, then Harman. Although I know McNeely's going to garner more ownership than Na and Harman, so I might still gravitate towards them a little bit, depending on how I weight my lineups and how many lineups I end up playing. But I think it depends on the build. Like, I wouldn't mind trying to figure out a way where my last 3 guys in are McNeely, Na, and Harman kind of thing, because I think you can make those lineups this week.
If you don't start aggressive up top, you absolutely can. So, and you pick up a lot of win equity there. There's just this is where it gets a little tricky. I think it starts to drop off around here though, because you work into the mid sevens. It's not to say these guys can't be played, but I think there's a significant gap between the guys we just talked about and the 74 and under guys.
Yeah, if I go Kokrak, McNeely, I still have $8,800, so I could play Kisner in that lineup. I can play Siwoo in that lineup, and I have $9,900. Find an extra $100, and I can play Patrick Cantlay as the lead of that lineup. Or I can do something like play Berger, and I still have $300 left, which means I could upgrade, theoretically, if I wanted to, from Siwoo to Billy Horschel. Like, that's not a bad lineup. Berger, Horschel, Kisner, McNeely, and Kokrak. Like, I don't mind that. Like, I think that's about as balanced as a lineup as I've ever built in my life. But I feel good about it.
I mean, balanced lineups are great because you look at it and you're just like, oh, this is it. Car shopping season. None of these guys are going to miss the cut. And then, when you get 2 of 6, you're like, well, I tried. But I still think that this is a lineup construction where you can kind of disperse your win equity amongst all 6. Sometimes I build really top heavy where I'm like, okay, I have 2 guys realistically that are going to have to pull in all my placement points. And then I have 4 guys that I need to score well. With lineups like that, your best guys could be your 5th or 6th man in price wise. And that kind of makes it a different type of build. But one I think in a field like this we've seen can be very effective.
So those are the guys that I really like. Kuchar is the one who's drawing the most interest as of right now in terms of ownership. And then you have Mito, who's being relatively under-owned, but it's really hard to get a gauge on where his game is at playing this course for the first time. We've seen first-time players here win, so that's not that big of a deal for me. But then you have this like cluster of 3 guys who it's really striking to me how much interest there is. Hadwin, Hoagie, and Streelman. Hadwin and Hoagie are just popping out of models. They are like Russell Henley light right now, and they're $1,500 cheaper. So I understand why everyone's gravitating towards them, and maybe I'm just wrong, but I think I'd rather play Kevin Na and Kokrak at half the ownership of Hadwin and Hoagie. And that's not to say that they can't win and be great plays, but I think I would just rather pay the extra $200 for the other guys.
I would as well. My other question, and we just don't know with this guy, is where is Cameron Young falling? Because we've seen flashes of brilliance, takes a big step up. The players is the players, the masters is the masters. I don't know what to think. The guy is off the tee dominant. It doesn't feel like the best course, but do you have any interest in just like saying, you know what, I'm just going to play this guy in the mid 7s indefinitely?
I can see it. I'm trying to see where he ranks out in terms of, I'm looking at the simulator right now. It gives him, based on holes of this range, Cameron Young is not very highly rated in this field in terms of how to attack it and the way that he plays a lot of these shorter holes. So I'm probably going to end up being off of him this week, but I'm looking at the simulator right now. It actually really likes Matt Kuchar. Great. Perfect news for me.
Dear God.
Thomas, Cantlay, Morikawa, Webb are the top 4 in terms of the simulator, and Morikawa comes in at a negative value because he's 14-1, and his simulator odds would give him to be 21-1, so it's pretty close. Webb is also 21-1, Cantlay's 18-1, and Thomas is a relative value at 10.5-1 versus 11-1, although I've seen him down at 12 and 13 in some spots as well. So a lot of really intriguing options here, and most of the guys that you would expect to be up there are up there. The only real outliers from that are guys at the bottom of the 7s. T. Gala apparently has a ton of win equity, more than Billy Horschel, according to the simulator, and so does Davis Riley.
I mean, I do believe that when you get, look at Scotty Shep, when you just don't know, these guys could be wildly overpriced. But they also could be the most underpriced guys in the field because maybe they're just that good. Davis Riley has shown flashes. Thigala, of course, has shown flashes. So I will put some of these guys into lineups and just hope that it turns out that they're just great players and they're perpetually underpriced. The rest of the range, though, I've got a couple guys in the lower 7s.
Can I guess? Can I guess who they are?
Please.
Aaron Wise.
Well, wasn't even thinking of him, but yeah, that's a prerequisite. Yes, obviously.
Lahiri.
I don't know. I'm not going to say yes there.
Who are you?
I know. You know who I am? I've turned over a new leaf. I play Denny McCarthy every week, and I've said this. It's so nice. Like my therapist is always, man, you're a lot less stressed now. Yeah, because my guy, when he gets to 25 feet, he just makes it every single time. it's so nice. Made 9 of 10 cuts. What's not to like about Denny McCarthy?
I'm with you. He is, minor league
Come
Spieth.
on.
He's like Spieth, but more minor league.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's good. I'm all about the minor league Spieth. But no, I got one more for you. It's another one of my guilty pleasures.
Let's see here. Oh my God. Don't say it, please.
Well, it could be one of two. Are you thinking of Merritt or Knox?
I was going to say, I'm shocked you didn't say Ricky.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Ricky. Where is he?
7,000.
He's at flat 7. I hadn't scrolled that far. What about Knox, though? 130 to 1?
I mean, Feinberg's on him, too. Everyone's just kind of on him.
Okay.
I would prefer Merritt.
I mean, Merritt's a god. I love that guy. He just has to. I mean, some guys are like this. He legitimately has to gain 10 strokes putting. That's the out.
But the thing is, the two things that he gets really hot with are perfect for this course. It's irons and it's putting. Those are the two things that when he's rolling well, he does really well. So I think that gives him an out to win. Like with Knox, he's going to strike it really well. But how often? I mean, he did it at the Travelers in 2016. Congratulations, Russell Knox. I don't think he's putted that well since.
Yeah, that probably not. He's fine in the weekend so consistently. Tee to green. I will admit his putting does cap his upside at times, but I'm pretty comfortable with this range. You've got Merritt. I'm not gonna say EVR. I'm done with that experiment. Denny McPutts, Wise, obviously. And yeah, I'm not saying, I don't know what to say with Ricky. He can't be in play, can he?
I don't know. Justin Thomas even stole his ritual of congratulating the winner of the Masters. So what's he got left?
That really was it. I mean, I don't even know what it is. Normally I would blame it on the putter, but he's just not good at really anything at this point. He doesn't get to wear orange because he never makes the weekend. He's got to change it up. He's got to start wearing that on Thursdays. I don't know what else to say. I would rather play Davis Riley. That's where we're at.
Per the numbers and the key stats that I looked at this week, Cameron Young does rate out really well, as does Luke List, who was, again, another guy who was a part of that fun team that I had going on. He was on a run that year on short Bermuda courses. Maybe he can recapture that magic because now everyone is off of him after they played him at the Masters and did not go well at all with Luke List. I think he lost 3,000 strokes putting, which you probably should expect. It was like the people that played Siwoo. I talked this with Jeff, that it must have been a whole bunch of first-time people playing Siwoo who just didn't realize what it's like to play Siwoo Kim.
Oh, yeah. It's the full experience. I mean, the Luke List experience was super typical. It's like Peters. I put Peters in there. You play Peters and you're just like, why is he 8 over through 3? And it's just like, have you not played this guy before? That's just what he does. So yeah, I don't read into that much. I'm comfortable with Luke List. I would prefer Merritt if I had to pick one, though.
Yeah, I like Merritt. I like Denny. I'm actually with you on those two guys. Like I said, the numbers Adore had one in Hoagie. They were at 5th and 6th in this field. The other guys that pop up from the bottom of this range, Knox is one of them. He's 22nd. We also have Munoz is 11th. Spawn, who just continues to play well, is 19th. And then you have Patton Kizzire, Ben. Number 9, small greens. Is this the route we want to go? Munoz, did not play all that well at the Players' Championship. Didn't make it at a match play, and we haven't seen him since. But before that, the ball striking was really heating up, and we hadn't spent too much time on Bermuda yet, and that's basically the only place that you want to play Munoz is when he's putting on Bermuda greens.
I'll also say, for what it's worth, and I unfortunately know this firsthand, Munoz was in it at the Players, and then he shot 77 on Sunday. So, he didn't finish great by any stretch, but he was playing really well. Monday was rough. There's no doubt about it. So I'm all right there. You've mentioned basically everyone except Wise. Does that mean I'll be alone with him this week or what?
I think you have a decision to make of whether you want to be a Luke List guy or whether you want to be an Aaron Wise guy at this point. Oh, an Aaron Wise guy. That just means that maybe you luck into that they have a good putting week because the putter has been so bad and broken for both them now over multiple starts. At least Wise's ball striking has been on the uptick. That's great news. But it did seem like he had it figured out with the broomstick, and now it just flipped again.
There's nowhere else he can go, right? There's not a third.
You say that. But remember that Jaco Van Ziel putter, the nub? Maybe he could do that.
He should. I miss that guy. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. He should move to the nub putter because it's not working. But this is like Aaron Wise does have a course fit, and it is these
Coastal tracks.
OHL, Bermuda, I don't know, other types of courses that fit that. I think that Wise, I mean, he's 180 to 1 to win. That's to me ridiculous, but 7,100, he's worth some splashes in large fields.
In terms of ownership, play whoever you want from down here. It doesn't seem to be congregating on any one guy this early in the week, which is always my preferred type of stance. Like Knox seems to be generating the most buzz, but not so much that it would scare you off of him by any means. It's not like 20%, he's like 8%. And it's just so relatively flat that you can kind of go for it. The one guy who seems to be falling through the cracks, which I did notice, Merritt was one of them, List was one of them, but the lowest projected owned of all these guys right now is actually Tringali at $7,000. People were playing him at like 9,100 3 weeks ago.
I mean, I was not doing that for obvious reasons, but Tringali is a mixed bag. He's been so close. A lot of, top end finishes, string of awful showings. He lost the driver in Florida, but a lot of that has to do with water. So I'm not opposed to it per se. I do think he's more accurately priced at this point. I just think that there are so many guys right there. I would find the couple $100 for McCarthy, for Knox. Davis Riley's the same price. Wise as a flyer. Even List for Telly if I needed to. There's just a lot of guys in this range.
All right, let's move to the sixes.
Oh yeah.
Can you do Snedeker, who had the most bizarro Snedeker performance of all time at Valero, where he crushed ball striking and lost like 5 strokes putting?
His putting was so bad. It was, I don't know what to make of that. He can flip the switch, as we've seen. Some of the comp courses, fantastic for him.
I think he's won at every single one of the comp courses, and he's won at this. And he's won at this course.
Yeah, that'll sum it up pretty nicely. I think, as disgusting as it is, I would rather use Bo Hostler. But if you told me you wanted to back Sneds just because he's Sneds and he showed something at Valero, I totally get it. But Bo Hostler is on a crazy run with putting. And he's been playing really well. I've been backing him, and it's been turning out good. I'm not going to stop now, even though his irons consistently put him under extreme pressure.
That's always the issue. Like, he's very much like when you look at the stats table and like the game log for him and how he's been accomplishing what he's been accomplishing. It's very much like Kisner's, where you're like, oh, well, this is completely unsustainable, yet it just keeps going every single week. Maybe he's just geared that way. That's the type of player he is, and you're going to have to live with it the week that he loses a stroke putting and misses the cut by 18 strokes.
Yeah, and again, you're never going to find consistency with these guys, and we see this all the time with Kevin Kisner. When he doesn't have it, it's not good. You're just like, why did I back this guy? That's why he misses a handful of cuts that I don't think he should. But when he doesn't, I think that Bo Hostler's in that mix, and the range is not like Brendan Todd. Lanto is kind of interesting. Nasty Nate. I don't know. I'm not drawn to these guys.
Yeah, Nasty Nate's on like a little mini heater right now. I think I might have some Nasty Nate in my life.
I get it. 4 straight. I don't know. I mean, that's your. I'm not even going to pretend to know what's going on with this guy. He's a guy good company. He's in the same price range as Griot. So
you stole the words out of my mouth. Can I interest you in a player who so far in 2022 has gone miscut T63, miscut T21, miscut. Second here last
for the
year.
math people. Yeah, I mean that is some type of like. I don't know what the math term is, but it's like a pattern. So by that logic, he should make the cut this week.
We call him he is a Fibonacci Griot.
Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Fibonacci Griot. It's not even that he can't putt. He just can't do anything. I don't even know like what's wrong. Like what look at his stats. There's no good. It's all just bad.
Yeah, it's a world of hurt. Are you a big enough sucker to play Luke Donald here?
No. I mean, I'm a sucker for a lot of reasons, but I'm not playing Luke Donald. I'd rather play Stenson.
Ooh, I didn't realize Stenson was playing.
I didn't either until I saw it, and now I'm making like I I've been on this for a while. Why not just play Stenson? He's showing some form. He's another guy that he's got some of the comp courses. I play him over Donald.
I think that objectively Svensson at $6,400 is the best play down here.
You see? Well, Sam Ryder is down here.
Well, I mean, if you just factor in his 8 eagles per round, that's going to work out really well.
I know I joke about this. Even when he doesn't make one, he has at least one iron shot that goes directly where it's just 0 yards to the hole, and sometimes it just doesn't roll in. I've never seen a guy that can do that. When he doesn't do that, though, it's out of bounds. So take it or leave it. But I think that Stenson is fine at 65. You going to chase Charles?
Probably not. I'll probably just go back to Higo because, that's what I like to do.
He was on Friday. Him and oh my
God. He had a case of the not being goods.
It was bad.
Svensson, honestly, with Svensson, like when you look at it, it seems like his little mini run is over. He's no longer gaining strokes on approach. I mean, I don't know what happened at Corrales. He missed the cut there against a weak field. Valero, he misses the cut mainly because he couldn't hit his irons, which has been very atypical for him. But shorter courses have kind of been his jam so far this year. Like Valero is a pretty long course. Corrales is a long course. API is a long course. He missed the cut at all 3 of those. But you get to Sony, you get to Amex, you get to Honda. He has 2 top 10s at those courses. So I think there is something to that.
I agree. And obviously he's not what he was, but you're just asking him to find the weekend here. It's a good setup. I don't see a lot of opportunity cost in the sense I don't like a lot of these other guys. Alex Smalley is the other guy that I've played quite a bit. Almost won at Corrales. It's a mixed bag. That's what you're going to get down here, but he's someone I feel pretty comfortable with when I'm in jams. That he can do it. He was 12th at Bermuda. He seems to like these type of tracks. Wyndham, another made cut for him. I think that Smalley is in play.
I can see it. I just don't know what to do with him exactly. He was the one who was lighting it up. They kept showing him on Sunday at the Wyndham Championship last year before he didn't get into the 6-man playoff.
Is that true?
I think so, because I think he was local to the area. So maybe there's something with him in South Carolina, or I mean, that's in North Carolina, but just something in the Carolinas that hits with him. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, 66 on that Sunday.
Yeah. I remember he made this super long chip in from behind the green. It's like only someone with local knowledge could do that. So maybe that's his home course. I don't know. Looking at these, sure, I just separated by courses less than 7,200 yards to see if anyone really kind of Svensson is the best. Svensson, Swafford, Danny Lee, Nick Taylor, Cameron Davis is just incredible. Apparently at short courses, he gains way more than anyone else in the $6,000 range.
Yeah, there are a batch, and you've kind of coined this with Luke List, Gary Woodland. I put in there of guys that are aggressive, and when they get to these courses, it helps them because they force themselves to club down, and they still hit it far, but it's a little more controlled. And I think that Cam Davis could be a candidate to be in that group. So maybe that's something that we need to explore a little more.
I recall playing him either last year or the year before at this course, and his irons were so terrible, but he gained 8 strokes putting or something. Yeah, that was last year. He came 25th. He lost 3.5 strokes on approach, gained over 3 off the tee, and gained over 5 on the greens. So at least he's a weird guy that can kind of do it in different ways. He made the cut at the Masters. He gained 4.4 strokes on approach at the Players' Championship, despite missing the cut. The fact that he lost 5 strokes off the tee in 2 rounds leads me to believe he hit the water 8,000 times. At least there's not a lot of water you can hit it into here.
He's that type of guy. He reminds me of Fratelli in that regard, where it's not one stat category. He could gain 4 strokes on any of them at any given week. He just rarely puts it together. So,
all right, he's going into the pool. He's going in.
Come on, put him in.
Yeah, Zach Johnson.
How low are you going?
I don't know. It depends on the builds that I want to make. I just talked about playing everyone no lower than $7,800, but I'll probably play 2 separate types of lineups this week where I do kind of press the issue at the top and maybe try to go Morikawa, Cantley stacks and see if I can jam in Spieth or Sungjae or Berger into those lineups as well, and then just kind of YOLO it with. I mean, Villegas, for whatever reason, the numbers tell me to play him. Norlander's coming off a really good week at Valero in terms of ball striking. They're 6,100. But you could fill the bottom of your lineup with, I mean, people don't need to play Higo. That's just something that I do. But Svensson, Cam Davis, and someone else, Nasty Nate from down there. Like, you can make those lineups work.
Definitely. There are some names sub 65, but I'm not sure how much I'm going to need to go down there. So you have options in the upper sixes. I'm kind of interested in Tyler Duncan. I play that guy more often than most. I just don't know if it'll be a necessity that I need to go this low.
You could do like the year that I won the money at this tournament. It was the balance build with the one absolute jabroni. Now that one absolute jabroni won the tournament at $6,300. But I think all of my guys were between like 77 and 10,000, like those 5 guys, and then the one punt at the bottom, and you just pray the one punt comes through. I think that's a strategy. It's worked.
Yeah, I mean, at this tournament especially, it's just there's so many jabronis. Like Wesley Bryan is here.
He's won this tournament.
Yes, he has. And
we playing Wes Bryan?
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time I played him in 2022. That's for sure.
Hey, he was 15th at Corrales. He made the cut at Valspar.
That's not where I played him.
You played him at Honda when he missed the cut. He gained over 3 on approach in 2 rounds.
Yeah, there were. This is where I think you're drawing pretty thin. Like Ben Martin, obviously.
Hey, Wes Bryan has never missed the cut at the Heritage. First, 51st, 42nd, 68th, and 25th is what he's looking at here. Has only lost strokes putting once at this tournament. Has gained over 2 strokes on approach 3 of the 5 times, gains around the green, and he bleeds it off the tee. But that's what you would expect. Even the year that he won, he bled strokes off the tee.
Oh, that's going to be a given. I promise I'm done after this. What about Robert Streb?
Well, the fact that you've mentioned him now makes me aware that he's in this tournament.
So that's a start. He is playing.
People like to play Robert Streb. I get weird questions about him in the chat. Maybe it's the same guy. Maybe it's like Robert Streb's brother or something like that. I don't know. But this is his type of tournament, isn't it? Where it's just like, oh yeah. I do feel like we see Robert Streb inordinately at the top of the leaderboard. He's like the new Ricky Burns. Like I
was just about to say the new Ricky. Yep. -4 through 7.
Yeah.
And then
once a Thursday,
61.
It's like, oh fuck, he's gonna win this tournament. It's like, oh yeah, he didn't make the cut.
Yep. But double winner at RSM. He was 7th at Valspar. He missed the cut at Valero, but he gained tee to green. He just lost 4 strokes putting in 2 rounds. He's been awful at Heritage, so I'm running out of things to say. But I don't think you need to play these guys. But if I was in a jam at 6,200, him and Tyler Duncan, I think it's conceivable that they could make this cut and play just fine.
I mean, G-Mac's a winner here. He's at 62. Like, if you really wanted to go superstars, and Watney's down here as well. He continues to rate out well per the numbers, and sometimes he contends for reasons unknown. He's 6,100. Morgan Hoffman's playing. He was a big favorite of mine back. He's back in this field.
Well, that's going to be – they should put him on the feature group, just eating his grapes and doing what he does. That is going to be wild.
I hope he plays well. I liked Morgan Hoffman a lot. He was the king of the first round leader and then would miss the cut or come T74 or something like that.
That is going to be – I thought you were going to bring up I don't know who Morgan Deneen is, but Morgan Hoffman, nice. I will be rooting for him. That would be sweet if he comes back. Quite a story.
Yeah, if you wanted to just have a sprinkle of guys below $6,200 and below, Duncan, Streb, Bryan, Villegas, Norlander, I think would be the guys that you would be looking to target from down here. I don't think that you need to play these guys at all. But if that's the route
together,
if you wanted to play Cam Smith and Justin Thomas in lineups, you might have to sacrifice down to here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that crazy to play let me say this before it leaves you with 5,800 average salary. But if you played JT can't lay Spieth, you have 6,500 left. I could make that work easily.
Thomas Smith Berger gives you $6,100. So you play Wes Bryan, Norlander, and Streb, and there you go.
Call it a day.
Win 100K.
Yeah, and you'll have 3 of 6, but it'll be the 3 studs that missed the cut.
Yeah,
like, how did this happen?
100% that would happen.
100%.
All right, let's play the best plays this week, because we've talked about everyone in the field. We like everyone in the field, so yeah, just play everyone, right?
Easy game.
Where do we
go
start?
balance?
Just the ownership numbers are leading me towards like Lowry, Connors, Fitz as a start.
Okay, so yeah, that you're still gonna have plenty. Lowry, Connors, Fitz.
That leaves you with $7,000 left. Now, there's no real chalk from down in that range either, so that becomes a little bit more dicey. But then I totally forgot to talk about Doug Gim. How dare I? Who would be the guy in the 6s that everyone is going to gravitate towards, do you think? Like, can we find a punt from down there that would be in, like, I think the numbers are going to tell people Svensson's a great play. And I was going
to say, is it Stenson?
Yeah, Svensson at 64. That gets us back up to 73 for 2 spots. So it gets us in that bottom range. So you got like Fowler, Sink, Glover, Denny, and Merritt. Maybe this lineup's not the best. Maybe we get rid of Connors.
Denny and Merritt.
Yeah, Denny and Merritt.
Do you have extra because you're you? Did they give you extra money? That gives me negative money.
No, that's every week on DraftKings I get an extra $10,000 to play in my lineups. Did people not know that? I still
like
lose.
You do.
Lowry, Connors, Fitz, Svensson, McCarthy, Merritt. Fitz it with 0.
Lowry, Connors, Fitz, Stenson, Merritt,
Svensson.
That's what did it. Hold on. This is going to be... So, were you talking about Svensson the whole time?
Yeah.
I'm talking about Henrik Stenson.
No one wants to play fucking Henrik Stenson. Give me a break.
What? He's been playing better. I was wondering, some of the stats you referenced, I'm like, what are you looking at? That makes more sense. What about, I'm telling you, Stenson, though, don't sleep. That's why when I said
he has been playing a lot better. That's fair.
You kept saying 6,400, and I'm like, did they give you a different price on him?
Yeah, you get the tax on Svensson.
Okay, so Svensson, your Canadian guy, that makes well.
That's how. If people didn't know, that's how DraftKings works. Whatever country you're from outside of the United States, to encourage people to play on DraftKings, that if you play someone from your own country, you get a discount on them, and everyone else doesn't.
I'm moving to India. Let's go. Lahiria 5,500. That is my jam.
I'm very excited for people to think that I'm serious about that and be like, what? That's not fair.
All right. Svensson. That's going to be...
No one's playing the lineup that we just talked about. I might play the lineup we just talked about. I actually kind of like it. So I think
it's not bad.
I think that's too balanced. So I think we lose Connors. We start with Lowry and Fitzpatrick and then start to work, because now we can get access to that upper 7K range, which seems to be like a real hot scene. So you could play... Kuchar seems to be very popular. We'll throw him in. Hadwin's going to be popular. Hoagie's going to be popular. And that leaves us with $7,700 that we could play Streelman or Harmon in that lineup, and it works.
Yeah, I think that's going to probably be the more popular build. It's just people really accessing that upper 7s, mid 8s, and the 9s, and just maybe one punt, if you even want to call it that. But I'm on board with that. A lot of 2v2s. Like, I'm fiddling around right now, and I've got to Fleetwood on some of these teams, Kisner on some of these teams. You can do a lot here.
So Lowry, Fitz, Kuchar, Hadwin, Hoagie, Herman will be the best plays lineup. Did you know that the best plays lineup for the Masters that we made on Friday's show was my best lineup of the week?
I feel like consistently this lineup, because I'm like, oh yeah, this is what other people do. I'll never do that. And then that would have worked out. And I told you, I was fiddling with hedge lineups, and it was Scheffler, Cam Smith, Connor starts. That sums it up nicely for last week. But now I got to look at Adam Svensson after the show. I've been thrown for a loop here.
Well, There's always things you can go back and try to figure out. We'll try to figure out more and decipher this down and come back with better ownership projections because they're going to be more saturated. We have a longer sample on Wednesday's show, noon Eastern, on Mayo Media Network, live with Tambo, where you can come and ask your questions and potentially get banned for life. There's always a fun scene. What do you got going on this week?
Yeah, so of course, be doing our golf shows over at Awesemo.com. You can check that out. And then every, NBA playoffs, USFL is starting. The Kentucky Derby is only a couple weeks away. We will be busy with all things DFS and betting. So if you're looking to try something out new, if you haven't been over there, Awesemo.com, come stop on in.
RunTheSims.com too, if you want to get in on any of these other sports. So I think the USFL package is $100, but use code Mayo. I believe that you get a discount off of that. Justin's built out an optimizer. He's built out simulations, projections, player props. So DraftKings added that to the lobby today. There's some big tournaments. And Ben, you know this, that having good tools for these like jabroni sports is a massive advantage versus the field.
It's huge. There are so many people that will just not use them and they won't do the research. It's the most, inefficient sports, and we could take advantage of that. So I couldn't agree more. Getting tools, and that's what we try to do as well, is very, very important. And there's a lot of money to be made for sure. Yeah,
week 1 projections are going to be very difficult for the USFL just because who knows? But then by week 2, week 3, they get really, really good. Even Justin built out simulations for F1, which are completely free up at runthesims.com right now. If you want to enter those lineups and use those projections, I mean, he won like 10K week 1 off them because no one else is simulating out F1 for the purposes of DraftKings. You know what I mean?
Again, niche sports. So that's our philosophy as well. I'm excited for it. A lot of fun events coming up. Like I said, new sports, horse racing, playoffs. It's a great time in the sports world.
I was texting with Cam this morning, trying to work out when we're going to do our Kentucky Derby preview. But as I told you yesterday, I'm actually going on vacation that week. So I leave on the Tuesday evening. We're going to have to film on Tuesday at some point to get our Kentucky Derby picks in. I just pray that the postings are out by then because we can do it without the postings as long as we know who's in the field, but it would just be better if we had the postings, wouldn't it?
It would definitely be better. We might have them. And yeah, the stakes races, I've watched many of them. I just watched the Bluegrass. The horses are getting their points. So we got some of the main characters already in. It's going to be interesting, as it always is.
Who's the horse to watch out for right now?
So the horse that I'm most impressed with is a horse named Zandon, Zandon.
That's a real millennial name for a horse.
Yeah, you know how these. I'm not gonna even say anything, but yeah, he won the Bluegrass. He's going to be there. He's impressive. There's obviously, San Diego Derby winner, Florida Derby winner, a lot of other horses, but Zandon is a horse that you'll be hearing me and Cam and you all talk about soon enough.
All right, that will do it on the Pat Mayo Experience, fantasynational.com/Mayo. To get yourself 20% off, cheat sheet will be up on DKNation.com. Go and check out the show, smash the like, play in the Listeners League, and all that fun stuff. Thank you all for watching on Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!